In today's video, I'm going to be doing a shootout with the Soldano SLO30 versus the EVH 5153 50 watt head with the 6L6s. But before I start, this video is sponsored by Radial Engineering and Sweetwater. They sent out this Radial Headbone pedal so we could do this shootout. And all they asked is that I let you guys know in January, they have a new line of rack mount power conditioners that look pretty cool. They have a $99 one and a $179 one. As you guys know, I've been touting how much I like Radial Engineering for at least 3-4 years on the channel. And it's nice to see them sponsor one of the videos. I still think their ABY box is one of the best in the market. And I always suggest it every time someone asks me. Okay, so what is the Radial Headbone? Well, this is a pedal that's different than a typical ABY. What this does is allows you to plug in two tube amplifiers. So I can run the Soldano into channel A of this pedal and the EVH into channel B, and then I run one speaker cable out of this to the cabinet. Now this is all through the output, so you're gonna have a speaker out of the amps into this pedal, then to the one speaker cabinet that I'll be using in this video is a 212 cabinet with vintage 30s. One cool feature is that's a lot of cables, and if you don't want to run a ton of cables, you can leave this on top of your head. In fact, I've seen Tremonti live and he was running this exact pedal and doing it that way. And what it's going to allow me to do today's video is going to just let me toggle between these two amplifiers and allow us to hear these two amplifiers in the same exact cabinet without any kind of movement of the microphone or anything wacky going on. So first thing I want to tell you is that I bought both of these amps. So these are my personal amps. I purchased both of them. And the 5150, of course, is $1,300. And the Soldano is $2,800. So it's more than double. This is a very expensive amp. And that's why I want to do this video. Let's talk about some of the easy stuff to get out of the way. Feature-wise, they both come with a foot switch. The Soldano has a 1-button foot switch that allows you to switch between the clean and dirty channel. The EVH has a 4-button foot switch that allows you to switch between all 3 channels, clean, the blue channel, and the red channel, which is the higher gain channel, and then use the effects on and off. Why that's important is that's a great feature, but also both amps do have effects loops, so you can run effects through both the Soldano and the EVH, but you cannot turn them on and off with your foot like you can on the EVH. Both of them have a master presence control, and both of them have a master bass resonance control. The EVH puts its bass resonance on the back, and I will tell you this, in my opinion, the Soldano's bass and presence controls are way more extreme. In other words, you really feel like they're doing a lot, especially the resonance control, the bass frequency control, really thickens up the sound. And it's not as flubby, which is nice. So again, they both have the same feature, but the quality of the Soldano does shine through. This is 30 watts and this is 50. And so a lot of you might have a question of is how much louder is the EVH? I don't actually think the EVH is louder at all. Playing them both, they seem about the same. I will tell you this, the Soldano punches really hard. I feel like maybe it's better quality transformers, I'm not sure, but there's something about the Soldano amp that just lets the attack and kind of thumps the speaker a little harder and gets, especially even turned down, it does it, and then turned up even more so. So that's a little bit of a win if you want that. If you want to feel your speakers moving some air, the Soldano does it a little bit better than the EVH. The other thing that's interesting is the Soldano does have kind of a makeshift 3-channel thing going on, which is it has a clean channel, and the clean channel has the ability to boost, and but that's not foot switchable. So what you can do is you can have kind of like a mid-gain channel and a high gain, or you can have a clean channel and a gain. Playing the amplifiers quiet, I actually think the 5150 wins, especially on the red channel because it gets really distorted if you're really trying to play a lot of gain and play it quietly. The 5150 does it great. The Soldano does it okay, but some of the magic of the Soldano goes away once you kind of break under that volume 1 or volume 2 spot if you're trying to play really quiet late at night. But one thing about the 5150 is it actually has a headphone jack out the back. I'm not a huge fan of headphones, so I'm not really the best to ask when it comes to that stuff. And trying it, I thought it was okay. Both amplifiers come with the line out the back. They don't have any cabinet simulations or anything like that, but the Soldano does have a line control, which is a nice feature as well. The other thing that's mentioned with the 5150 is that you can also get this in the EL34 version. So you can get 6L6 or EL34. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities and advantages there. Another advantage to think about with the 5150s is their cabinets are some of the best priced cabinets, at least currently, before the market keeps continually changing. The 212 sitting at around $600 or less, and the 112 sitting under about $400 or less with a quality speaker in them is a very impressive cabinet that matches up, where Soldano is definitely going to take you almost to $1,000 to get into their 212 cabinets. One of the things that people don't like about the EVH is that the power and standby switch is in the back, and that gets a little inconvenient for a lot of us players where it's up front in the front end of the amp on the Soldano. That's a nice feature. And of course, they pack so many knobs in the front of the EVH, sometimes you bump them from time to time trying to adjust them, and that's one thing I've always had trouble with. Now, this is the new 5150, in other words, newer model. There are older models out there that don't have the feature that was added to this one, which is the gain control and the volume controls on channel 1 and 2 are separated now. So the early edition of one of these had to share gain and volume and EQ. Now it just has to share EQ for channels 1 and 2, or I should say the green channel, the clean, and the blue channel. But all of that, again, like I always say, doesn't matter until we get to the sound samples. Let's go ahead and hear how the amps sound different. And again, we'll use the Radial Headbone to switch them up and see how it sounds. In the recordings, both clean channels sound fantastic, and you would be totally, I think, happy with either one if you got either one. However, in the room playing the amps, the Soldano's clean channel is far, far better than the EVH. Now, what I mean by that is it's not cleaner, although it feels a little cleaner. It's warmer, and it kind of fuller, and it feels more like a high-end kind of clean amplifier. When you go to the blue channel on the 5150 versus the Soldano, they are very similar. In fact, I would say they're the most similar. And if you want the red channel, if you take the Soldano gain all the way to 10, you're in that red channel vibe. But realistically, most players of the EVH really stick to the blue channel. Of course, I'm sure some are going to make comments that they love the red channel. I love the red channel too, but a lot of players really gravitate towards that blue channel. And that's where I think these two amps kind of live, is with its gain and its gain on the blue channel. And again, in the video, what I think you'll hear is maybe they sound similar, maybe one sounds better than the other, but in the room playing the amps, what I want to tell you is, again, is even though I said this is a little louder, a little punchier, it has so many qualities that I like about it, the clean channel's better. And when you're playing the amp, this is spongier. The Soldano is a spongier sounding amplifier, and it's not as tight sounding as the 5150. I prefer the 5150's gain playing it in the room. Although I will tell you, I think one of the magic things about Soldano is how they record, because in the recordings, I had trouble hearing some of the things I was experiencing with the amps at every volume, whether you turn it up or down. And I will tell you that the sponginess of the Soldano kind of gets tighter as you turn the amp up, and it kind of lives in a sweet spot where it wants to live, where the 5150's sound is pretty consistent up and down. What's really important to talk about, which is why videos like this I think matter, is a lot of us live in a buy to try market. In other words, we have to buy things to try them instead of used to trying them at the stores, and then we would buy them. And in a try before you buy market, in other words, if I walked into a music store and I got to spend 30, 40 minutes sitting down and playing these two amps and seeing what vibe would I get, I would have just bought the 5150. One of the only things I will caution you, and that's why I talked about why I did so much talking versus playing in this video, is if you listen to sound samples of Soldanos and plugins, this amp does not sound exactly like those. And I think that's true with a lot of Soldanos, even the older ones, even the 100 watt ones, the SLO 100s. I think that's one of the magic things about Soldano, is that if you listen to the recordings and the plugins, you're going to hear an amp that when you play it in the room isn't going to vibe and sound exactly like that. And that's one thing I can say about the EVH, is it really does sound like how it records for the most part. It's a little bit truer to the recording. It is a very high gain amp. Again, both these amps are very, very good, very high gain. But like I said, I think I like the EVH a little bit more. And of course, it's a little bit less money, so that's a nice feature. That's just a win-win right there. And before we go, I'd like to thank Radial Engineering and Sweetwater again for providing the Headbone pedal. It definitely made this process a lot faster and easier for me, and made it easier to make this video. And this kind of helps the workflow a lot for something I'm doing. And I think a lot of you that have a couple amps at home, maybe this is a good kind of fix for a problem, which is sometimes you feel like you have to have a cabinet for every amplifier. Wouldn't it be nice if you could at least put 2 of your amplifiers on top of one cabinet? But of course, I always like to thank you at the end for supporting the channel in the biggest way, which is just hanging out to the end. It's really the biggest deal for me personally, because it makes all this work feel good because you guys made it to the end. It means you liked it. And until the next time, I want to thank you so much for your time, and know your gear.